Hello. I started long-term semen retention at the beginning of 2018, and my current streak started on February 11th, 2022. In this video, I would like to go over the major changes and benefits I have experienced personally from this practice. The SR manuscript. 2 years of writing and research on the topic of semen retention. If you wish to physically own the works of the ancient archives, then this book is for you. Number 1. Laziness. I started to procrastinate after the first few years of entering the workforce. The monotony of work life seemed to dull the senses after a while, and as a result, my motivation and enthusiasm subsided. I noticed after periods of abstinence of a week or so that I would become quite charged with energy. Perhaps it was the feeling of horniness. After committing to semen retention long term, I noticed a steady increase in energy and motivation, and as a result have made more progress in my life than ever before. In particular, I have had more patience to sit down for long periods of time and work hard. I believe this is a direct result of retention. The feeling after ejaculation would always linger on for days. A kind of sleepy haze that made me want to return home to sleep. This feeling sapped my motivation and kept my spirits low. After 6 years of retaining now, I feel my mind is in a totally different place. My mind feels young again, sharp and energetic. I think it only makes sense as my body is not being burdened by the constant demand of replenishing lost stores, as is the case for someone continually losing their semen. Number 2. Relationships and partners. Semen retention has improved my relationships with my partners. In many of my past relationships, sex was the main focus, and because of that, other parts of the relationship would suffer. Our time together usually went like this. We would go out, get drunk, go home, have sex, wake up with a hangover, grab lunch, and then say goodbye. It became repetitive, joyless, and pretty mundane. It wasn't until I started practicing semen retention that I began developing other interests that helped enrich the relationship. We started meeting earlier in the day, going on day trips, often to the countryside, trying various new activities I had never even thought of trying before when I was more focused on sex. It really opened up a whole new world for me, as letting go of lust made room in my mind to try new experiences and find new areas of interest. Without trying to sound cliché or dramatic, it made me see women in a different light. The girlfriend I had while practicing retention, who I initially thought was very attractive, suddenly didn't seem so attractive anymore as the lustful thoughts faded. Whether it was good or bad, I fell out of love with her soon after starting retention and had to end things. When we free ourselves from lust, we start to see the world a little differently. When your prime motivation isn't coming from the testes, your behavior begins to change. The attraction I felt when I was feeling lustful was mostly sexual, rather than the emotion of love. Semen retention, or any lifestyle that limits lust, helps bring out love and builds a deeper connection with your partner. Lust is a quick charge felt in the gonads, but love is a full-body feeling of continuous warmth and well-being. I think love is by far the healthiest state to live in. I feel it is the kind of connection we are all searching for. Number 3. Mental strength. At the beginning of my semen retention practice, I started to realize that many of my relapses were tied to some hardship or bad social interaction from earlier in the day. Something that caused me stress or frustration would significantly increase the chances of a relapse. I think a lot of men can relate to this. Masturbation can become a way to temporarily escape sadness or discomfort. For years, I didn't even realize that many of my bouts of masturbation were triggered by these negative feelings I was unconsciously trying to avoid. When you're practicing retention, You don't have that escape anymore. Instead, you learn to sit with those emotions or pains without turning to sexual pleasure for relief. This builds mental fortitude. The more you can handle negative emotions without crumbling, the more resilient you become. You can handle more stress and deal with more hardships while keeping a balanced state of mind. This is putting yourself in control of your emotions, and it is an essential trait for a man to have, a trait many men will never develop. Self-control will help you in all realms of life. It will help you focus and attain whatever it is you set your sights on. Number 4. Success. With more energy conserved, you start to look for other ways to expend that energy. You may be more inclined to start a new hobby, travel to a new place, or begin a business venture of some kind. With conserved sexual energy and more free time, you will become a doer of things rather than just a thinker. Lustful thoughts are all mental. They take up much of your time when consuming them and keep you in a sort of mental wonderland. With energy in your body, the urge to expend it through physical action becomes stronger, and as a result, you become more productive. Your will becomes stronger, as does your energy to carry out that will. These are all the ingredients of a productive man, and a productive man is moving towards success. I have had much more success retaining than I did when not retaining. I learned new skills that led me to meeting new people and even generating some new income. All these processes unfolded from the initial act of retaining semen. Number 5. Eye contact. There is something shameful about masturbation. Men often feel it when interacting with others soon after having masturbated, a kind of unnatural awkwardness. The gaze usually gives the masturbator away. The eyes are weak, depleted, and somehow embarrassed looking. Eyes can often reveal a lot about a person. They offer a glimpse into someone's world. Even without words, subtle hints about what someone is feeling or experiencing can be picked up by the perceptive observer through the eyes. When communicating face to face, your eyes are an important asset. They communicate your state of mind, your abilities, your emotions, and many other things that influence social relations with others. For this reason, we must keep them in good condition. The face of a retainer is usually bright, the eyes are strong, and there are no signs of depletion. The eyes are the windows to the brain. They are so close in proximity and are directly connected with each other. The brain and the testes are the most similar organs to each other in the body. They share more similar proteins than any other two organs. The semen, too, is made up of many constituents that the brain is made up of. Many books from the 19th century discussed in detail this intimate connection, and this could help perhaps explain the connection between the eyes and the seed. Semen retention improves the state of the eyes, and this improves the way in which we are perceived by others during interactions. Number 6. Intelligence. This is a difficult metric to gauge, but I believe my brain is more effective at processing information and more capable of absorbing new things. The reason is that, before retention, sex always occupied a lot of space in the back of my mind. Lustful thoughts took up mental space and left less room for other thoughts. I think without the interference of lust, the mind is able to generate a lot more ideas. It wasn't until semen retention that I started getting creative with finding music work and scored some good job offers. It wasn't until semen retention that I learned about video editing and other new skills that opened up new work opportunities for me. It wasn't until semen retention that I finally met the person I decided to marry. A lot of these personal victories I attribute to having the mental space to think up ways to make things happen. I felt lost before retention, but with the extra energy at hand, I seemed to be able to find ways to exert my will and get what I wanted out of life. I'm not sure if this would be considered intellectual intelligence or something else, but I see it as a form of mental power that I developed by not draining my sexual energy. Number 7. Creativity. I believe the heightened sense of awareness and perceptiveness commonly experienced during semen retention is what makes one more creative in life. When your perceptions are heightened, you begin to see the connections between objects more clearly. You start to make associations with things your mind was previously unable to connect. With this surplus of energy from conservation, your thought power increases. Your intuitive faculties sharpen, and you begin to see more clearly how you will proceed to the next step in whatever endeavor you are currently undertaking. That is why, if you are feeling lost in life, semen retention will help put you on the path you are seeking. You may not even know where you are going at first, but at least, in my case, the path just appeared on its own accord. I have confidence that when you are living in line with nature, the path you are meant to take, that is, the most natural one, will begin to reveal itself to you. If we think of creativity in its noun form, creation, that is exactly what we are conserving. Our seed is the very material of creation itself. Released into the egg, it generates new life. Conserved in the body, it regenerates old life. The material of creation makes one more creative. Number 8. Physical strength. When exercising and lifting weights during retention, I noticed increased strength and endurance. I could fit in more push-ups or more reps at the end of a set. I could walk longer distances without feeling exerted. Any athlete has probably heard of sexual restraint improving physical performance. It is an often talked about topic that dates back thousands of years. In the 5th century BCE, one of the first recorded books in history on physical education, Gymnasticus, writes, "Those who come to the gymnasium straight after sex are exposed by a greater number of indicators when they train, for their strength is diminished and they are short of breath and lack daring in their attacks, and they fade in color in response to exertion. And they can be detected by signs of that sort. And when they strip, their hollow collarbone gives them away, their poorly structured hips, the conspicuous outline of their ribs, and the coldness of their blood. These athletes, even if we dedicated ourselves to them, would have no chance of being crowned, i.e., winning victory in any contest. The part beneath the eyes is weak. The beating of their hearts is weak. Their perspiration is weak. Their sleep, which controls digestion, is weak, and their eyes glance around in a wandering fashion and indicate an appearance of lustfulness. If an athlete has just had sex, it is better for him not to exercise. In what sense are they men? Those who exchange crowns and victory announcements for disgraceful pleasures. Number 9. Manhood. I feel more like a man with more life force energy. After sex or ejaculation, I would feel the opposite. Not having sex means the feeling for sex or feeling of sexuality is strong and contained, not weak and dissipated. It gives you a continual buzz throughout the body. It is like a well of fire burning in the pit of your belly, keeping you active and energetic. When you're not dwelling in sexual thoughts, this energy charges you up. It makes you more productive. It makes you want to move. This is how a man's body is supposed to operate, and this energetic virility a man feels is a product of his testes, the source of his manhood, his sexual magnetism. 10. Luck. This last one is very difficult to quantify, but it is one that I feel perhaps most strongly about. In short, my life has experienced more luck and good fortune since starting retention, compared to before. Before retaining, I was experiencing bad luck in many areas of life: work, relationships, finances. and a big loss of enthusiasm for life in general. Within 2 years of semen retention, the bad relationships disappeared. A couple of good ones started. I quit my job after many years. New work came my way. I improved my living arrangements, and so on. This world is governed by natural laws. These are the laws of cause and effect. The more we live in line with nature, the more nature supports us. Transgressing nature's laws will always come with a penalty equal to the transgression. Losing semen in vain has been known in many of the ancient scriptures as perhaps one of the major transgressions or sins against nature. Animals in the wild follow nature's instincts and do not waste their semen in vain. Those who masturbate excessively are known as degenerates because they are degenerating their bodies by releasing all their generative substance. This substance generates life, so its release can only be understood as degenerative to the organism. It degenerates your path in life and leads to a more destructive outcome. The conservation of this life fluid is said to regenerate the organism, according to many books of old spanning thousands of years. The chaste man, the celibate, or the man practicing sexual continence has been highly praised through various religions and cultures throughout history. In ancient China, alchemists referred to this conservation as the secret to immortality. In Indian tradition, the chaste life, roughly translated as brahmacharya, was something to be aspired to by those pursuing good health, spiritual growth, and enlightenment. The Bible promotes chastity to avoid sin, purify oneself, and strengthen one's connection to God. The retainment of sexual energies is part of the oldest wisdom in history, a way of life that brings you closer to nature, closer to God, and closer to good fortune. It may even help you find your purpose in life. So I recommend to anyone feeling lost to try semen retention for a time and see where it takes you. I have a feeling you won't be disappointed.